Hey there, Ben Mankiewicz with you. Welcome back to TCM, where Easter Sunday is just a few days away. Of course, Easter Sunday is the same number of days away for all television channels. Anyway, tonight, as part of April's Wednesday night theme, Acts of Faith, we're presenting a lineup of Hollywood versions of the life of Jesus. I assure you, this next interpretation is nothing like our last, the greatest story ever told, from director George Stevens in 1965. Depicting Jesus on screen has always been controversial, even since the early days of the silent era. Our next film takes that controversy and amps it up to 11 with a heavy dose of rock and roll. From Universal in 1973, this is a rock opera about the final days of Jesus' life, Jesus Christ Superstar. The story's conception is as rare as its subjects. Not many movies began like this one, as a two-part concept album, in this case with music by Andrew Lloyd Webber, lyrics by Tim Rice. The rock album debuted in 1970. A year later, it was adapted into a stage musical. That show became a hit on the stage, running for 2 years on Broadway and a record 8 years in London's West End. But it wasn't the stage adaptation that caught the attention of director Norman Jewison. It was that original concept album. I loved the idea, the music, and the lyrics, Jewison wrote years later. The scenes began to form in my mind before the first record had finished playing. Jewison discovered the album while working on another musical with a religious theme, his 1971 film Fiddler on the Roof. Jewison learned that Universal owned the rights to the music and immediately contacted the studio to throw his hat into the ring if the studio was thinking about turning it into a movie. Not only did Jewison direct this version, he also co-produced and co-wrote the adaptation, making this his sole screenwriting credit. Like the concept album and the stage version, the film was met with protests and criticisms from religious groups, both Christian and Jewish, when it premiered. But the negative response didn't do any damage to its box office potential. It could well have helped, of course. The movie became one of the biggest hits of the year. Norman Jewison called it the most inventive and visually interesting of any of his films. From 1973, with a cast mostly made up of actors from the Broadway production, this is Jesus Christ Superstar. Yvonne Elliman, who played Mary Magdalene, and Barry Dennen, who was Pontius Pilate, knew the material inside and out by the time they made Jesus Christ Superstar. They had both performed the roles on the original 1970 concept album and on stage in the 1971 Broadway version. Carl Anderson, who played Judas, had also been in the Broadway production. He'd replaced Ben Vereen, the original actor cast as Judas, when Vereen got sick. Ted Neely, one of the minor players in the Broadway version, he was an understudy for the role of Jesus, won the role of Jesus in the film after doing a screen test for director Norman Jewison with Carl Anderson playing Judas. Neely and Anderson had become close personal friends, and Jewison later told them he cast them both because he wanted to see that close friendship between their characters play out on screen. Up next, Jeffrey Hunter plays Jesus in an epic production from 1961 directed by Nicholas Ray. King of Kings is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, King of Kings, then the Gospel according to St. Matthew, and later, Life and Passion of Christ. Bear witness with TCM tonight.